Yo, I have this jean jacket and it had like a decorative hole in the pocket, and I do not like that because then it's difficult to launder. You might get things caught on it. So I play with it and kind of decide like how big even is this pocket. It's not a usable pocket. It's so small you can barely get two fingers into it. So I decide I'm not going to try to put a sewing needle into the pocket to still have a usable pocket, and I sew all the way through to the inside of the jacket as I patch this hole. So I decide, what am I going to patch the hole with? Well, it's on the left, so it's going to be a little heart right over the heart. I needed something a little bit sturdy, so I used a piece of an old card and I just cut into a heart shape so that it'll be a template, a perfectly symmetrical heart template. First, I cut it into the approximate size-ish and shape-ish of my pocket so that I know how small or big to make my heart. I didn't want it to be too small because I'm trying to cover the entire ripped part, but I didn't want it to be too big because I'm trying to remain within the confines of my pocket. So I draw my heart, and then that's when you fold it, and then you just kind of cut only a half so that it'll be perfect, symmetrical on both sides. And then you have a little template. So now you can use your template to cut out your red fabric. So I didn't have any actual fabric to work with, but I have felt to work with. And I felt like the felt, like original, like real regular felt, is really soft and probably not sturdy enough for this. I didn't want it to pill or come apart. But I found a really thick felt that was a Christmas felt that my mom had chosen at some point. I have no idea for what, but literally years ago. So I figure it doesn't hurt if I take this piece. So I cut two hearts out of the glittery red thick felt because it's the sturdiest red fabric that I have access to. I have red embroidery thread and a tiny, tiny bit of stuffing from a pillow, which is also called polyfill, polyfiber, just stuffing, any kind of stuffing. You almost need none for this puff patch. It's really a tiny bit. So I cut out my two hearts using my template to make sure that they're both the same, because you could do a square on the inside, but I wanted it to be a heart on the inside and the outside because I thought that would be cute, and I still think that. So just be careful trying to line them up. That's going to be the hard part, is lining the two hearts up on the inside of the jacket and on the outside of the pocket. So if you have push pins or safety pins, it would be really helpful to pin them together as you adjust them and try to get them into place. I can't find any of my straight pins. I do not have any straight pins or push pins or sewing needles. What are those things called? The hook kind? Safety pin. I don't have anything like that to use. So what do I use when I don't have anything like that? I use an actual needle, which is not a great idea, especially if it's something thick like jean. You don't want to break your needle. But I try to very gently use my needle to hold things in place when that's all I have access to. I don't know where on earth my push pins went. We used to have so many, but that's the kind of thing that just gets lost so badly. And they live in a big stuffed animal so that like I could see them, but I don't know where the entire stuffed animal went. So, oops. Oh well, I need more push pins. Yikes. Anyways, so you just kind of have to flip it over back and forth until you kind of feel with your fingers where it kind of feels like you would need to line up the other half. A lot of flipping back and forth. I start my knot with my embroidery thread on the inside with the first outside heart so that the knot will be completely on the inside of both. And then I put the second heart on the inside over the knot as I go back and forth to applique the two hearts together onto my jean jacket that I'm working with. So and then once you have your needle going in between both hearts, it's really easy. You just sew it in whatever stitch you feel comfortable sewing. I just did a normal, I think it's called a back stitch, just a normal line to line to line stitch all the way around the whole heart as far as you can, and leaving a tiny, tiny lip on the outsides of the heart so that because I'm not doing the kind that goes over the outside of it. I'm doing the kind that goes in and leaves a little lip. So it'll leave a little lip on the inside and the outside. So you sew most of the way around your heart, leaving enough of a side open that you can fit your fingers and the stuffing in. And I've definitely made the mistake in the past of using a little bit of closing it a little bit too much, and then I struggle to get any stuffing to fit. So if you do that, you need to use something like a little pencil or something to help push the stuffing into your overly tiny hole. But I have learned to at least make it for something like this as big as 2 fingers. And then if it's something bigger like a pillow, if my whole fist does not fit in the end, I closed too much. So that's like the rule of thumb I go with. I try to make sure that my hand can fit inside something like a pillow or a stuffed animal, something large, but just 2 fingers for something small like this. But if it's something really, really tiny, I wind up not doing the finger trick at all because fingers are huge. So I'll use just something like tweezers or an awl or a pencil, anything that you have really that's not too dangerous. So, I have very, very lost my voice recently, and I don't know why. I think it could potentially be from all the pollen. The pollen has been killing me. So the neighbors are taking out some of the trees, and it's the pretty trees, and they're leaving the oak tree or the birch trees. I'm offended. Let's take the birch trees down too. Okay, thanks. Anyways, so the puff patch is really easy and really fast. Be careful not to poke your fingers. It's jean, so pushing through the needle is going to be a little bit thicker and harder than just using any regular fabric. So you want to be extremely careful that your fingers are nowhere near where the needle tip is going to come poking out. You don't want to get it stuck in your skin. That is extremely painful sometimes, depending on how you stick yourself. So I don't really recommend using those finger cover things as I've just never been able to make them work with a project. I always feel like they're cumbersome and in the way. I try to just do a little technique where I just kind of have my fingers one on each side and I know that the needle's going to be in between them so that I know I'm not going to get poked. And it doesn't always work. I mean, I still manage to poke myself sometimes. And I definitely wind up sewing mindlessly. That's usually when I poke myself. So you want to be conscious when you're working with something thick like this jean because you can really wind up using too much force and hurting yourself a bit. Also, you want to be careful with your needle. You don't want to just mindlessly shove your needle in and out of the fabric because you could easily break the eye of your needle, and that would suck. You need your well, I guess it depends on how your needle's threaded too, but I usually do a double thread so it's all the way around the needle and then knotted at the bottom, in which case if you break your needle, you're not getting a needle back on that. So that would suck. I have managed to kind of make it work by threading it through the eye hole and then using it as a whole different kind of situation, but it's not nice when you do that. You want to be really careful with your eye hole. So I definitely had left enough room up the side for a tiny bit of stuffing, but it really only was a tiny bit of stuffing. I didn't want it to be too hard or compact or weird feeling because I just wanted it to be like this tiny, relatively subtle heart over your heart, covering the hole, the decorative tear hole, which I thought was fun back when like that first seemed to become popular way back in the day, but I lost appeal to it, however you say that. Pretty quickly, I found it to be annoying because your toes get stuck in it if it's pants, or you get caught on it if it's on the top, like with your bracelets or something, or God forbid, if you still wear long earrings. I used to wear long earrings. But when I developed the metal allergy, I now only own a few earrings, none of which are dangly. So anyways, I'm pretty damn picky about my earrings, actually. I realized at some point. I wish I could still own a few decorative ones like I used to, because I used to have tons and tons of earring like holders because I had so many earrings. But as I realized that I was allergic to the metal pretty damn badly and it was getting worse and worse, I just had to stop. Like even my medical alert bracelet I'm allergic to, so I had to paint it with clear nail polish because it was causing burns on my arms because it's metal. So one of which was right over my flower tattoo. I was so offended that there's now a little bit of a scarring, but it didn't affect the tattoo all that much. It's just now this weird texture under one of the leaves. But hey, here's a heart patch. Bye.